Dehi nosmin yata dehe komara yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dirastatra namoyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad Gita 2:13. The spirit soul possesses the body and is within the body. This is the real analysis. The soul never mixes with the bodily elements. Although the soul is within the body, it is separate and always pure. One must analyze and understand his self. This is self-realization. Neti is the analytical process of rejecting matter. By expertly conducting such an analysis, one can understand where the soul is. One who is not expert, however, cannot distinguish gold from earth, nor the soul from the body. This sounds like Bhagavad Gita, but it's what Prahlad learned within the womb. This is chapter 7, and chapter 7 follows chapter 6. And chapter 6 is Prahlad's teaching his classmates. At the end of chapter 6, they want to know, where'd you learn all this? Because we're in our classroom, we're with Chanda and Amarka all the time, and we don't get a chance to. I heard it from Narada Muni. How'd you hear from Narada Muni? Because we're in the classroom all the time, and where are you going to go hear from Narada Muni? And then he tells chapter 7, I learned in the womb. When my father was in the forest engaging in austerities, the series of events happened. I was then brought to, in the womb of my mother, to Narada's ashram, and for the duration of time that my father was engaged in his austerities, my mother, and because I was in the womb, I also heard from Narada Muni. And somehow, I remember everything. And my mother forgot everything. The explanation is she forgot everything because when Hiranyakashipu came back through association with Hiranyakashipu, she forgot. Some people remember, some people forget. And I remember. So this is what I learned in the womb. So he gave them, in chapter 6, a series of teachings. Strong. Strong teachings. And to the point teachings. And his emphasis in chapter 6 is bhakti. Naturally so. Bhakti Prahlad is teaching bhakti as the means to not fall prey to materialistic life, and he's really good at characterizing what materialistic life is like. And it's it's frank and it's honest and it's not pretty. And it's self-perpetuating. It's not only one lifetime, but it's the consequence of this lifetime making wrong choices leads to other experiences later in this lifetime, in the next lifetime, etc., etc. So that's not a good plan. He's teaching his classmates. So better, don't indulge in those things, materialistic life. Engage in devotional life and here's what devotional life is like, and worship of Vishnu, and he's a good teacher. Good teachers become good teachers for out of two main qualifications. They heard well, and then they applied what they heard well, and then that means they're connected to that sound vibration by applying what they heard well, and that makes them eligible for some knowledge from Supersoul, because this is part of the discussion in Chapter 6. Supersoul can impart knowledge and realization to such a person, and then such a person becomes qualified to be a medium, a transparent medium, or an instrument. And that's what Prahlad is doing. So when they question, how did you learn? He's going into other areas because he was teaching the conclusion, but how to reach the conclusion. Now, this is normally within our teachings that we receive from our founder Acharya. This is this particular verse is discussing a process that is not an essential part of the bhakti process. It's an essential part of the Gyan process. In the Gyan process, there's a question or a search. What is Brahman? And then what is Brahman can be identified by negation. It's not this, it's not this, it's neti, neti. And that's what this verse is indicating. Prahlad is indicating what he learned in the womb. So it's not like he only learned bhakti, but he also learned it's not this and it's not this. Not materialistic life and the pursuit of materialistic life. It's knowledge. Or say it differently. Knowledge eradicates ignorance. Light eradicates darkness. Knowledge is that which takes away ignorance. And specifically, the ignorance of misidentification with the body. It keeps coming back to this basic point. The same topic, Northeastern, same topic in Brandeis. Lively discussion at Brandeis, and it got distracted by one fellow that kept asking the same question. And he was like, stubborn. Yeah, but... And it was off topic. But anyway, understanding of spirit, soul, whatever the context may be, is a step in God realization. That is to say, the self realization and God realization, they occur simultaneously. Self-realization and God realization occurs simultaneously if it's complete. There's an incomplete, and then there's more complete, and there's complete. And the complete is the spirit soul is, using Prabhupada's phrase, a molecular part, a fragmental part of the source. The soul is an emanation from the source. Of course, everything is an emanation from the source. But distinct from matter is the soul as an emanation from the source. And so the soul is not matter. Therefore, neti, neti, neti. It's not matter. So it's drawing a little bit closer, somewhat closer to self-realization. We're not matter. We're spirit. Aham Brahmasmi. So that's Vedic aphorism that has its support system. Aham Brahmasmi. The slogan of the impersonalists. And it's true. Aham Brahmasmi. Aham, I am, Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. And then comes, is there a distinction between Brahman and the source of Brahman, or the part and the source of that part? And then if, different schools say no, there's no distinction between, because it's all one, there's no distinction between the part and the whole. There's no part and there's no whole, it's all Brahman. That's all there is Brahman. End of discussion. And then living entity may say, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. There's just all there is Brahman. And so the neti process is incomplete. But it's here as a teaching of Prahlad, what he learned in the womb, sharing with his classmates, because it's part of another process besides the bhakti process. It can lead, the other process can lead to the bhakti process, or can qualify one when associating with one who is carrying bhakti to ignite by making wet leaves dry or wet wood dry. Then in contact with a spark, it can ignite. In and of itself, the neti process doesn't bring God realization, even in terms of bringing or ushering in Brahman realization. Yes, but it's because there's no shelter of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, that Bhagavatam teaches us. Then one will fall again. Without shelter, one will fall again. So that's not desirable. Fall again from the platform of Brahman, because it's incomplete. But it's a beginning, so therefore it's here, and it's in Bhagavad Gita as well, and so therefore the Bhagavad Gita reference is made, chapter 2. But that properly understood, that's a beginning, and the beginning leads to the next, if the sequence is followed. Chapter 3 follows chapter 2. Karma Yoga, chapter 3, engaging in activities using the temporary body, work, without attachment to the fruits of work. Because that can be a problem. You have a spiritual conception, you start doing work, and something happens to that spiritual conception. It just evaporated. Because how do you work without attachment, without being inspired to do something to get something? It's most uncommon, or say it the other way, completely common is you do something to get something, fruitive. Because when you do something, there's a result. Otherwise, why are you doing something? So you do something to get something, whatever that might be. To get moksha, aside from getting an automobile, or a house, or a piano, or or a violin, or something, getting something. Do something to get something. So that's in this plane. And if something is done to get something, that's fruitive work. This is moving into a Bhagavad Gita discussion very easily from this topic. But moving from Gyan to Karma Yoga. Working without fruitive results. A little sharing from visiting universities the past while. there are a fair number of Indian graduate students, undergraduate and graduate students, that have an understanding, and they share it readily, about karma yoga. And they know the verse, karma neti vikarase ma phaleshu kadachana. You're entitled to do your duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your duty. Now, the part they don't get, because I've asked, is how do you, when there's a fruit, to be detached from the fruit, what do you do with the fruit? They don't articulate it clearly. You offer it to Vishnu. That's what you do. And that's because there's fruits. And that's the detachment the fruit belongs to and is given to. And therefore, it's common from experience that the distinction between karma yoga and bhakti yoga is very unclear. Or say it the other way, it seems it's the same. Karma yoga, bhakti yoga. You give the fruits to Krishna, karma yoga. And if they get that far, then that's bhakti. What's the difference between karma yoga and bhakti? And to understand karma yoga is a subset, we're going over into a Bhagavad Gita discussion, but that's okay. Because he's taught bhakti in chapter 6, now it's dhyan or Gyan Yoga, and chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita. We're going back. It's not just, there's the purpose. Largely, those who are performing karma yoga have an impetus. I want to become not entangled in the network of material activity. I have an affinity for material activity, but I don't want bondage in the network of the actions, reactions of material activities. So it's intermediate. It's a liberation motivation, not a bhakti motivation. So what's the distinction? The motivation. And the motivation of a bhakta is, the fruit goes to, the fruits of my activity go to Krishna. But that's the starting point, the middle point, and the end point. At least conceptually, or in principle, Krishna is to be pleased. That's very simple. Not, I don't want bondage, so I do karma yoga, which is the same as bhakti yoga, which is not the same as bhakti yoga, because I don't want bondage. I want out of jail. I'm in jail. I don't want out of jail. Thank you. And the key to get out of the jail cell is karma yoga. Offer the fruits of my activities to Krishna or to Vishnu. I'm out of jail. And to live one's life adhering to the tenets of karma yoga, very rare. Who does that? Really? Who does that? So many many cases it remains notional. It's a nice idea. And then notional becomes partial. That, to some extent, I offer the fruits up to the Supreme. I was just thinking, yesterday we went to Brandeis, and the big campus, like lots of buildings. And buildings are named after people, because most likely Ben Shapiro and his wife donated a bunch of money, and they bought it. They a building that was the fruit of their contribution to Brandeis was named after them. Did they? Was their consciousness karma yoga or bhakti yoga? Are they liberated because they're no longer involved in the network of material activities because they made a nice donation to the Brandeis University or the Jewish faith or whatever that entity, not for profit contribution? Was the rest of their life bhakti? I don't know, but I would, most likely no. But that's okay. So then what about us? The practical application. Is it that we're supposed to, it's not that we're supposed to have no no possessions, no bank account, no house, no income, nothing, and be mendicants living in suburbia. That's not our life. So what's the difference? Neti. It's not. Then what is it? So to identify what it is, the self, and then again, self-realization and God-realization, they occur simultaneously. Or as Prabhupada puts it, when the sun rises in the morning, you can see the sun, and the sun shine, you can see yourself. Self-realization and God-realization occur simultaneously. Self-realization without God-realization is incomplete. That's what this is discussing, at least at this particular juncture of the flow of what he learned within the womb. And then, not this, not this, not this. So we isolated their spirit soul is not this. And then what is it? Well, it's not this. Definition by negation. And definition by negation is, it's part of a definition. And again, the application. How does this apply to us? So we engage. Our process is, Rupa Goswami articulated it, but it's in the Bhagavatam. It's yukta vairagya. And not just vairagya and not just yukta. There's the yukta, and we're implicated without for the satisfaction of Krishna part. And so for us, the bhakti process is a razor's edge. Bhakti has the potential of detachment, but it also has the potential of attachment. Utilize things in Krishna's service, and I become attached to those things. And then I'm being, not like I'm utilizing the material energy is utilizing me due to my attachment to things. And therefore, it's a gradual process. If carried out properly, that during some stage of life, the 4 stages. One is a student, and then another option is remain brahmachari or become grahastha, and then pass through that stage done properly. Then it's the yukta vairagya principle as a grahastha, and then what's on the other side? Just a little sharing, and I'm going to end with this. There's a substantial number of families in ISKCON that are at the stage of looking over the edge of Grahastha ashram, looking at Vanaprastha ashram, and what does that look like? And some know that they're doing that. Some don't exactly know that they're doing that, but there's a lot of people in that position. But it means the children are educated, the children are now settled, married, whatever. They may have children, therefore those devotees have grandchildren. And then what's next? It was very clear: student life, married life, and then what's after married life? What's that ashram look like? And then how does it fit for me? Not so much with the devotees in the room, but the day will come and that question is going to be there. Hopefully it'll be there. And how you move forward with that vanaprastha stage has a lot to do with how you move forward with the grihastha stage. Then the realization of both affinity for the supreme and detachment from the temporary. Not just, I now have a license. I can indulge myself in stuff because I'm a Hare Krishna guy or gal. I got stuff and it's okay because yukta vairagya, right? But without so much emphasis on the affinity for the supreme. So how grihastas, how devotees in any ashram engage themselves in devotional service is going to determine what's next. And will that model of those 4 stages of life result in me, for my becoming 100% attached to Krishna? That's a nice question. The perfection, using the phrase that Prabhupada would use, the perfection of life. Bhakti has the potency to yield the perfection of life. So, am I interested in complacency, or am I interested in going towards perfection of life? That's a good question. And it's a good question for any ashram. It's a good question for a spirit soul. What's the target? What's the goal? When this human form of life, what's the objective? During I'm going to end with this. During the class yesterday, there was this nice starting point about reincarnation. Benjamin Franklin wrote an epitaph. For his, a little. It's now in the form of an actual metal sign placed on the outside of his grave, I guess, or the place where his body was. And it's a reincarnation statement. Here lies the body of B. Franklin, printer, something, something, something. Now, with only the cover and the gilding and the letters stripped from the inside. So similarly, here is the body of B. Franklin, fit for food for worms, and but the soul will go on to a better edition, because he's a printer, better edition, arranged by the Almighty, or the Creator, because he was a believer in reincarnation. Where he went, and who can say where he went? So somewhere. And then, same questions, same set of questions that Prabhupada would ask. What's next? What's next? Are we going to go back to Godhead, or are we going to, Purnarjanma in a better edition? Hopefully. There's reassurances. If you don't achieve Shuddha Bhakti, no worries. there's a backup plan. The backup plan is you take birth in a family of devotees or aristocratic family, and they'll, so that you can engage nicely in sadhana bhakti, which is what we're doing now. And that's the what if. And then, so, same question, what's the goal? And are we interested? To what degree are we interested? At different ages and different stages of life, there's different degrees. And maybe initially, like lots and lots and lots and lots of enthusiasm, rah, rah, rah. And then what happens over time? That's life. Utsahan nishchayat daryat tat tat karma pravartanat. There's principles that enhance going further. And then going further towards what? Going further towards Purnarjanmana. And that's what Prahlad is offering to his friends. Please don't waste your time doing what mom and dad, your mothers and fathers are doing as friends of Hiranyakashipu. Building an empire of the temporary. Don't do that. And who's going to hear that? I mean, one last thing. I try to say the same thing sometimes, in college audiences like 6 times in one class. Please don't make that mistake. Be successful. Yes. But that's it? And what's the successful? Do well in your academics. And then what follows, same dharma, artha, kama. And then? Is that success? So along with being successful, and with that model, be successful in the other model. What's the purpose of life? Besides the accumulation of the temporary, and the satisfaction of having achieved the temporary. Yay! 5 gold stars in my report card. And then? So those are looming questions that thoughtful people ask, and those that aren't thoughtful, then they don't ask. Even if they're reminded, they don't ask. They just this doesn't register. What to do? The same with all, each one of us. It's not like I'm rubbing it in or something like that. But each individual devotee all around the ISKCON world, or outside of ISKCON, what's the purpose, really, at the end of the day or at the end of life? What's the purpose? And if I didn't ask that question, it's not likely I'm going to achieve it, the purpose. So ask it. Sure enough, the Bhagavatam provides the answer to that question. But one may not hear it unless one is asking the question. It becomes philosophy, and then you can get an A in your Bhakti Shastri. You know the philosophy. Well done. And speak you get an opportunity to speak. Sometimes in this forum, that forum, the other forum, and people say, "Oh, such a nice class," and we go, "Yeah, thanks." I'm being a little pointed for some reason. I think it has to do with a lot of college preaching, a lot of nice young men and women, with their lights on, and they're primarily looking for, spiritualizing or, making more religious their pursuit of academics. That's my impression, at least. There are some, their lights are on, and they hear, they understand, but it's exceptional. But that's so it's okay. That's where they are, and so they're then engage them in the process that brings purification slowly. To continue to hear and continue to hear and continue to hear and live one's life with mixed aspirations and continue to hear. And the sound vibration is just like the Hare Krishna mantra or kirtan. The sound vibration has the potential. And hearing Srimad Bhagavatam has the potential. Engaging in deity worship has the potential. There's potency. There's an immense potency in bhakti. And then there's degrees of receptivity. The inquisitiveness is a big part of that receptivity. Hearing with the intention that I want to know. I want to know so that the perfection of life can be achieved, not just a mix can be achieved. Less suffering, more feeling good about how I'm making my life, shaping my life. Nice. Step in the right direction. But that's not it. One who hears the Bhagavatam very carefully, it's there. The one who is not asking those questions will give it a nod, but it just partial. Okay, I'm going to end. Again, sorry I was late, and it's already 20 minutes before 8. 20 minutes before 9, sorry. Let's see if there's some discussion. Atulia, yes?
Maharaj, you were talking about basically karma mishra bhakti. There's a lot of even performing devotional service. At least I'm just analyzing myself. There's somewhere that tendency to um, bring myself in the picture is just kind of naturally follows.
Yeah.
So you were trying to distinguish between being successful in the world and then also being successful in our spiritual pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that change, Maharaj? Like,
what is the what?
What is the change or something, that internal change to bring that everything is, devoted to Krishna? This like.
Well, it's mixed to unmixed. That's the change. And it's like, using this example, it's like gold that's then made pure gold, because gold may be with alloy. And then the way the pure gold is made without alloy, one of the ways is making it so hot the alloys separate from the gold, then you have gold left. So the fire of ordeal, using Bhaktisiddhanta's phrase. So a willingness to undergo whatever it takes to undergo, to come to that stage where purity is what remains. Gold, 24 karat gold, using Prabhupada's phrase, pure gold that remains. So gold is there, bhakti is there, mixed. So your question, what brings that transformation? it's Krishna's mercy, but one of the forms of Krishna's mercy is ordeal, fire, or temptation. Here's some opportunity to get sense gratification, and I make the choice to say, no, thank you. Or tribulation. No, that's okay. So, making the right, hearing, the sound vibration is the primary transforming agent, and then that transformation is tested or enhanced by different methods. But it's the relationship between the living entity and the object of love.
So Maharaj, I was also reflecting on you saying we do Bhakti Shastri and then we can speak in the...
Say it again, slower.
You were saying that, we can get an A in Bhakti Shastri
Yeah.
and speak. So I'm thinking, is it that even speaking in a temple from the topics of Bhagavatam can be loaded, or there is a mixture that's speaking?
Commonly. We're all... So yes, commonly.
And
We're not Shuddha, we're mixed. Therefore?
And I'm on the other hand thinking, like my speaking in a classroom, if there was purity, could be devotional service.
Yes, that could be, it is.
Even though the topic is different.
No, the topic may be the same. That's like Prabhupada speaking. How many times did he say what's here? And Prahlad is saying. Thousands. With purity. And then we may say, we should. However many times, thousands also. So purity is the force. So what are we to do? The mixed people, what are we supposed to do? You follow. You repeat appropriately that transparently that message.
Thank you.
That's purification. You take your bath. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to understand in Nectar of Instructions.
In the which instruction?
Nectar of Instruction?
Nectar of instruction.
Yeah. So we say abandon or avoid all that is detrimental to bhakti, all the items that are not conducive to bhakti. I just wanted to understand how that can be related to the neti kind of a philosophy. Is it the same or different? Or
It's similar but different. There's a negation. That's the similarity. The distinction is the neti process is an analysis of what is sat or eternal. It's not this, not this. It's an analysis of what's sat. And the accepting things favorable, rejecting unfavorable is more in the matter or the realm of how you live your life. It's in the abhideya stage. What you do. That's Rupa Goswami's teaching is bhakti, abhideya, tattva. This is what you do. This is what you don't do. But then specifically, what is favorable for bhakti, favorable for bhakti rasa, an experiencing of a happiness, knowing that Krishna has received happiness. So it moves the sambandha into abhideya. There's some similarity, but there's differences. Then there's a willingness to do that which is and avoid that which is not. Okay?
More, probably my thought was going, uh, how much focus should be going on the rejecting process versus it's almost like the grass seeing the grass seeds. Should I focus on more on the weeds removal or
Oh, you know
focusing
the
more on?
answer. You know the answer. Here's the answer. You focus more on where you're going and be clear where you're going. And that's the acceptance and what's going to help you get there. And if you're focused on where you're going and how to get there, then there's more light and then more intelligence to discern what's not to be done. Here's a very simple example. Deity worship. And there's some things not to be done. But without the deity worship, then what's the not to be done part? Do I focus on what's not to be done? Do I focus on the deity worship? And once I've accepted the principle and then the activity, here's the deity. Now, how do I engage in the deity worship? Where I'm going. Anako yasya sankalpa pratiko yasya. Same, accepting things unfavorable, rejecting unfavorable. I want to do what's favorable. So what's not favorable? So that's the answer to your question. The subset is, yes, once I'm doing the favorable, I want to be attentive to avoiding the unfavorable, that which is detrimental.
Sure. Thank you.
The bhakti process has built in it a system that will eliminate the unfavorable. But that doesn't mean we become complacent and lazy. We are aware of free will choices that can be made that are unfavorable. And I avoid them because I know where I'm going. The diminishing follows the increasing. When the light goes on, the darkness is dispelled. It's not like I become inattentive to the potential darknesses that are there in my heart, in my life. I'm aware what they are, and the options that are out there also, I'm aware what they are. But discerning them and making the right choices is enhanced by the positive. Bhakti dispels the darkness.
Thank you.
Behind you.
Along those lines, I wanted to ask, so in my work, I'm a psychologist.
Yes.
And especially in my forensic work, which I've paused doing, I see a lot of anarthas,
Yeah.
and I can relate to all of them at some level, and because it's like,
Yeah.
and I can relate to every single person I meet because I see my
That
own
within me.
flaws
Yeah.
reflected back. So in that way, it's a great help to me in identifying, what needs
What
to be
not to
worked on.
do.
Yeah, exactly, and what my failings are, and how, and keeping my ego a little in check. so, um, so, but one of the things I've struggled with, and that I wanted to ask about how to tolerate, because I think it's along those lines of how not to. I guess get. You were talking about not being so, being motivated in thinking about motivation, being motivated. Bhakti is about motivation out of love
Yes.
and not out of desire for fruitive results or
Yes.
any other motivation, but just
Right.
love of Krishna. So then sometimes though, when I guess when I've seen things like, when I get really, especially the emotion of disgust, like when I've seen things that are really, or heard things, that are really, really, that cause me to feel really disturbed and disgusted.
With
And
yourself or
oh no,
life
with
or
just humanity and the darkness of humanity. Because, like I said,
you?
I feel like I have no innocence anymore, and my trust in humanity is very low. So I'm compared to the average person because I work with people and I hear all their secrets and I hear the worst of and I see the worst conflicts, and it's like my life day after day is like the worst. And I don't even work with the most ill people, but it's so I just so I think about, sometimes I find myself going, oh my gosh, like, Krishna, please, I just I'm so disgusted. Save me, right? So
Yeah,
and I think my desperation is that it's not coming out of love.
that's
It's coming
okay.
out of my own fear for my own safety, my own fear for my own soul, my own me. And then I think, am I an Artha conscious or am I Krishna
It's
conscious?
okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And then because and because you have association with teachings of pure bhakti, you can see a distinction. We all have to begin from where we are. And no, I'm at the center. That's where we are. Now, I'm recognizing that I want out of here. This place is crazy. I'm a salvationist. I don't want this stuff. I don't want to be in this atmosphere anymore. Thank you. Please pick me up. And so that's because the object of calling is a loving person. It can be an impetus to increasing bhakti, not just increasing I want out of here. Liberationism, salvationism, moksha. There's what you're asking is very similar to what's being spoken of in this verse. That is the neti process. Once I've identified, according to what this verse is saying, what spirit is and what it isn't, then it makes my choices better. I'm not going to make stupid choices. Now, similar in what you just described, yuck. And I don't want part of this. Thank you. Bhaktivinoda Thakur uses this language, or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please place me as a particle of dust at your lotus feet.
I've actually prayed many times to him because he worked in the legal field also.
So then you go like this, and then it can help your calling of the holy name, even while you're doing your practice. What to speak of your morning sadhana, with impetus, with the genuine impetus that can be the genuine bhakti impetus, not simply this place is crazy. I've had enough. You're on the one hand. So back to your question, you're protected by bhakti. At the same time, bhakti is giving you an understanding. Selfishness is not bhakti. I don't know. Say the same thing a different way. I don't know how professionals that are in your profession that aren't theistic, how they survive. I don't know. They probably go crazy. I mean, I would guess they go crazy. Or become, exceptionally proud or something like that. I'm looking down at others. and life. But so with God, with a supreme but benevolent, loving person, I can look up. And the look up is please, like a child, dependent child looking to their affectionate mother, father. Please pick me up. Please engage me in a loving relationship, not just a me at the center relationship. It's impetus. At least it for someone that has training in bhakti as you do, it can be an impetus. As that disgust, using your phrase, becomes stronger, it can be an impetus. Like suffering, the person that's suffering can be an impetus to take deeper shelter, and the starting point is selfish. And then it can become greater by the bhakti principle. It's not about me, it's about being in this relationship with Krishna where it's Vaikuntha, it's not, the material world. Okay. Others? She's done with the microphone.
Hare Krishna. I was a little surprised by the sequence in which this progresses, because 7.6.1, like Prahlad Maharaj already highlighted Bhagavad Dharma,
Yeah.
and then he elaborated afterwards, and then later on he gets into this neti process, which is not
Sequential.
even required in one sense. Like if once one is practicing um, Bhagavad Dharma, then the knowledge follows automagically.
Yeah.
And therefore,
Why the sequence?
such an emphasis with a must, like it's like an imperative used here, that one must um, distinguish this body from the soul, and through the neti process. That's the part I was a little taken aback
Well,
by.
when you're giving your Bhagavad Gita seminar, you may go the chronological one. I mean, it's a little bit like what I did with the students yesterday evening. I gave this example of Dr. Sabam, so they would get a frame of reference. Where is this train going? The distinction between the soul and the body. And it's not a proof, but it's something. So then you go back, and so similarly, bhakti, because that's it, my dear friends. Bhakti, not that. Here's the consequences of that. Bhakti. Now, going back to what comes before bhakti, here's some of the, and it's imperative. You can't. Here's a carrot. You're reaching for the carrot, but yeah, you can't reach the carrot until then you do the imperative. So it's okay. It's a teaching method. It's okay.
And Srila Prabhupada's emphasizing on, he started with the example of this digging gold, which is done typically by an expert.
Yeah.
So it seems like the neti process is for those who are knowing what they are doing. It is not like just a casual exercise of
Yes. And therefore, the knowing what you're doing part may come first, and then there's the how you get to. It comes second. He's got a question. Stand up and get the microphone.
Maharaj, I have a clarification question. Where Prahlad Maharaj is a devotee because he was listening the instructions from Narada Muni and applying in the lifetime, or because of his previous lifetime where he was fasting on Narsimha Chaturdasi and he got.
So this is the which comes first, the chicken and the egg question. That's your question?
Yeah, because of what he's a devotee.
Well, this is chapter 7. In chapter 10, the detail in response to your question. Chapter 10 doesn't speak about the Shringa Chaturdasi and fasting on the Shringa Chaturdasi. He says, Prahlad says, he asks Lord Nrsingadev a question. This is their direct dialogue. How did I become your devotee like this? And then the answer is, you sent me. Lord Vishnu, or Lord Nrsingadev, sent Prahlad from the spiritual world, from Vaikuntha to this realm to teach the ways of pure devotional service. So now we have two models. He became, or he already was. You follow what point I'm making? So now you're asking, which comes first? That qualification, the adhikar of pure devotion, and now he's able to speak like this in pure devotion? Or B, so in either way, so the model of the Shringa Chaturdasi fast, that was accidental, it wasn't intentional at all. You know the story. Everyone not in the room, you know the story? The Shringa Chaturdasi story? Okay. Before Prahlad was Prahlad, in the Shringa Purana, there's a history of who Prahlad was before he was Prahlad. He was a fallen Brahmana that became attached to a prostitute before he was Prahlad, previous life. And in this relationship with the prostitute, they had a quarrel. That quarrel happened on the Shringa Chaturdasi, and neither of them could sleep because of the quarrel. And they were up all night long and fasted all night long because they were disturbed by their quarrel. And so this Shringa Purana says that's who Prahlad was in his previous life, a fallen Brahmana attached to a prostitute who by accident, by circumstance, he just happened to observe a complete fast on the Shringa Chaturdasi. Thus, this is Hari Bhakti Vilas, thus, how powerful is the vrata on the Shringa Chaturdasi. Even unknowingly, he became Prahlad in his next life, a fallen Brahmana. And then the prostitute, according to the Shringa Purana, she became an apsara, went to the heavenly realm and enjoyed in the heavenly realm as an apsara. But he became Prahlad. So now his question is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was he, the accidental performance of Nrsinga Chaturdasi, and then he had the eligibility to become Prahlad and do what Prahlad did? That's the question. Yes? Yes. So it's in Prahlad's case, it's not accidental. The purity is not accidental. It's purity, and because of purity, how it came about, whether it's descending from Vaikuntha or unintentionally engaging in the Chinga Chaturdasi vrata, and thus qualified either way, he was qualified. So without qualification, you can't do what Prahlad did. Protected by Lord Nrsingadev in the ways that he was protected by Lord Nrsingadev without qualification. No, personality of God, it can do whatever he likes, but not likely. There's a prior qualification. So now what about you and me? Practical application. What are we supposed to do? That's the real question. To become qualified like Prahlad, what are we supposed to do? That's the question, right? Really. So he was qualified. The answer to your question is he was qualified. And then he was able to do what he did. And be protected in the ways that he was protected from this and that and the other thing. Because he was qualified. So what are we supposed to do? That's the real question. Become purified. By become purified how? By the bhakti process. What's the bhakti process? To become purified like that. So then there's, the procedure, the steps of, and it may take some time. Or not may, it will take some time. Become qualified. And one of the ways to become qualified is hearing about Prahlad. Just like look up, and you hear the narration, and like it's wow. I want to be like that, and try to be assisting Prahlad in doing what Prahlad does, teaching his classmates and speaking the glories of the personality of Godhead, left, right, and sideways, all the time. It's with the means is right within the verses as he's describing to his classmates. So go back in chapter 6 and you'll find the means. How to become qualified. That's what we do. But with the way, in such a way that it goes in. You hear it, and it doesn't bounce. But it goes in. What's the distinction between it water off a duck's back or it goes in? It's inquisitiveness. I'm looking up to Prahlad and I want to be Prahlad-like. Not Prahlad, but I want to be Prahlad-like. I want to be like him. He's a hero. And I don't want to be a hero. I want to be like in following in the ways of life of the hero. And there's a process. Chapter 6. Okay? I think we should end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What about school? What happened? Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. Look at this. Here's Mahaprashadam. It's the bottom one. Cookies. That's quick